How about you, JP? There's not a lot of things that I think really truly surprise me. I'm like Daryl in a lot of things. I just can't be surprised, right?
Yeah, that happens with Daryl.
It just seems obvious to me that the second they traded from 2 to 5, that they were playing the long game on quarterback, and that anybody from Joe to Kenny to the rookies, if they have a good season, it'll be oh, that's nice. But even that doesn't preclude them from taking a quarterback next year.
Mm-hmm.
And yet every time we have that conversation, it seems like certain Browns fans are like, but wait, what about these quarterbacks? It's like, have you said their names out loud?
Well, or
have you said Joe Flacco, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, and Shedeur Sanders out loud?
You just got to look at each one of their situations and do it individually, and I think it makes sense, right? Like Flacco, for instance, is 1,000,000 years old. This is it. This is the last year, and then Joe Flacco is riding off into the sunset. That's his reality. Kenny Pickett doesn't have a contract after this season. They didn't pick up his fifth-year option with good reason. Like if he turns into Sam Darnold, he turns into Sam Darnold. That's not the expectation. And then you have a third and a fifth-round quarterback.
Yeah, and listen, it doesn't mean that something can't. It shouldn't diminish our excitement, guys. We're
not
free,
at all.
We're free of Deshaun. Our excitement should come from we're at the end of that rainbow. We do not have to deal with so much of the crap that we've had to deal with the last 3 years.
Or how about just the idea that in a poison pill year, we have excitement in general at all?
Yeah, and
this year's supposed to stink.
Well,
it's not supposed to be exciting, and we have some excitement.
And in fairness, in most poison pill years, the bloodletting will have already begun. You can't if you're the Browns. So we get another year of Joel. We get another year of Wyatt. We get another year of guys we, honest goodness, love watching play football. So, yeah, I mean, I think that this value of this season is that, hey, we have to field a team.
Yeah.
And I think you have people in a position where their intent is to win as many games as possible. So if it can happen, you've got guys inclined to do it instead of guys going into a year thinking, hey, we have no intention of winning. And by the way, I think that matters to this locker room. And do I think it's more often or more likely than not that you get a top 5, top 10 pick and either have to trade up or naturally fall right in line for a spot with one of the quarterbacks? Yeah, I think that's probably where this is going. But they still got to play the games, and it's not like they're trying to lose. So, like, when we say, like, anytime you say, hey, they're going to get the quarterback in 2026, people go, are they tanking?
Yeah, like the tank is on, and the tank is not on.
It really isn't. Not yet. There might be a point. There might be a point in which this turns into a tank this season if they start 1-7.
And it should be obvious, like when they're playing DTR for the final 3 games of the season, and it was obvious to everyone what was going on.
When they bring DTR back this year, just start him for another couple of games. That's when you'll know. Yeah. But, like, I look at it like the Browns are auditing 2025. Like, if you didn't know if you wanted to take a college course back in college, because that's where you take college courses at. And so you're like, well, let me pop into like a class and I'll sit in one day and see if the subject is what I'm really into.
Oh, I never did that, by the way.
Neither did I, but I have tons of friends who actually did. And I was like, maybe I'd have a degree if I did this.
Yeah, maybe I should have done that. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe
you'd have 2 degrees at this point.
Could have had a great life lesson out of it and it'd change everything. I don't know.
But I do think, I think the Browns are auditing 2025. And so if they start 1-8, there's probably a realistic answer here that will unfold. And if they start 8-1, well, then an answer probably is unfolded in one way or another. And so they don't have to make a definitive decision today. But it's so interesting. I understand that 9 times out of 10, we should glean our excitement on a situation from can they win? I just don't know how you could reasonably look at this situation, quarterbacks, team, and otherwise, and just assume anything other than they're going to get their quarterback in 2026.
Well, and I think the Browns have done a really good job of trying to present what they believe to be at least somewhat competitive roster and team. It's just we're just not buying that it's going to be anything close to what they're presenting us with.
Well, and
like they're approaching the season, Nick. I don't know if you feel this way or not, but like between the optimism and the excitement attached to all this stuff and some of the energy around just the idea of even like Shedeur last week getting a pair of speeding tickets, like that's you freak out over that stuff when you have a team that's about to win 11 games, not a team that's projected to win 5.5.
Well, but there's a part of me that I'm a little caught off guard that people think that 2026 isn't the plan, and that somehow that they're. Here's the thing, guys. I think if they could have saved money cutting several of their offensive linemen, they would have. I think that if they could have saved money, cutting meaning like money now and in the future, by moving a couple veterans from this team, I think they would have done it. They can't do it because the way the money is locked in with this team.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the only way that this doesn't resemble the auditing 2025 thing, because they do have enough talent that if everything goes right, yeah, maybe they win 7 or 8 games as opposed to 5 or 6 games. We're doing a lot of heavy lifting here on the idea of if everything goes right, though.
Yeah, no, there's no question about it. It's just such a fascinating spot. I just keep going back to the idea that fans think this upcoming season is supposed to be something magical.
And I think that's so the reason why is we don't traffic in fair often because life isn't fair, sports isn't fair. That's how this goes. But if I'm going to give this organization and these, Stefanski and Barry a fair shake at how I perceive them as the guy who at the end of this last year said, get Kevin out of here. I want a real leader.
Right.
I do need to traffic in fair expectations. And if you think Joe Flacco is going to turn back the clock and they're going to win, 11 games and they're going to be the playoffs again, I don't see how that's realistic or fair.
No, you just wait to be pleasantly surprised, I think. And I think if the Browns are being honest, and an honest moment, they would say the same thing as well. You approach it with the plan of we can do moves and make the quarterback decision in 2026 in the draft. But if we are pleasantly surprised, then let's get up and go.
Yeah, like for instance, Pro Football Network, Jacob Infante.
You had to make sure you didn't say Pro Football Focus there, didn't you?
I did. I don't. Why does everything have to be Pro Football something?
Pro Football Reference, Pro Football Focus.
He put out his new mock draft,
Pro Football Network,
which we had all been waiting on, and he's got Cade Klubnik going to the Browns at 1.
Yeah, our way too early 3-round mock draft.
Yeah, the 3 rounds was where it really got deranged. Like you could have just given us 32
that's where it got. That's where it got deranged.
Yeah, well, there's a fair amount of people who do a summer mock draft because they write for a living and they're just trying to get some clicks.
World. Does Joe DeLeon, does our draft guy, does he do a 3-round mock? If not, I don't know that we can have him back as our draft guy next year.
Jake, can you check with Joe DeLeon and see if he does a 3-round summer
if not,
mock draft?
Maybe we need to get him on the horn and make a career. Not that he needs our assessment on this, but
clearly he does if he's not putting out a 3-round mock draft
for his own career. Like just tell him, like we got Pro Football Network people that are dominating headlines just because they're the only people doing it in June.
And here's the other thing:
open avenue.
No one's going to slaughter you a year from now if you went 0 for 32. You put like a 6-rounder in the first round. That's the beauty
of it is like you can just be like, well, I mean, information changed. They played a whole season of games. Like my problem with the flip-flopping that happened for the 4 months leading up to the draft was
with
that
like a guy like Shador.
Yeah, was that
for instance,
the games were done.
Yeah,
all the hay was in the barn. There was nothing else you could evaluate off of. Like we watched them play, it was over. Meanwhile, these guys, they have a whole season's worth of games.
216-474-0092.
Sorry, what do the Pro Football Network people say?
Cade Klubnik to the Browns, number 1 pick next year.
All right, so they have us not only getting the number 1. I saw the mock 2 had us at getting the number 8 overall pick as well. I think we went lineman in that one, just for those keeping score at home.
Which lineman? The good lineman or the defensive lineman?
I'm assuming he's going to be a good lineman. Oh, no, offensive lineman. I thought you meant like actual player. I was like, I don't remember these players' names.
If DeJuan does lock down the left tackle
Caleb
spot.
Lomu, the offensive tackle out of Utah.
Been a big Caleb Lomu fan.
Emu Lomu. Like the Emu Limu.
When he mad, he go moo.
Something like that. Smooth offensive tackle who allowed 2 sacks and 425 pass blocking snaps in 2024. His hand timing, balance, and range and pass protection make him a top tackle prospect.
We're just talking about are the Browns waiting for 2026?
Yeah. And all these different mock drafters that are already putting out, or one mock drafter that's already putting out his 3-round mock.
Not just that. I mean, Daniel Jeremiah is going through his scouting reports for quarterbacks, meaning like where they are going into what could be their last season. He had very kind things to say about Medina native Drew Allar.
So it's interesting you bring him up because I also saw, again, maybe this is the time where people are discussing these type of things. I saw Matt Miller talking about Drew as well and saying how complicated of a quarterback he is to diagnose and dissect.
I just think what's funny about it is I think the narrative on him is he isn't that good. And if you watched him, honestly, if you just look at his stats look really, really good. 66% completion percentage last year, 30 total touchdowns, 8 INTs. But if you actually watch him, like the whole point of the NFL draft is you can be a good college quarterback and no one think you're an NFL quarterback. I think Drew's the opposite of that. I think he is a emerging quarterback that continues to get better every year he plays at Penn State. And if he takes another jump like last year, the Browns better have the number 1 pick if they want to get him, because that's where he's going to go.
So right now, the mock that we referenced last year had him going 35th overall and ending up with the New Orleans Saints. But they had him as a second-round pick, and I'm interested to find out how much that changed with Drew. I think a lot of people are scared of what happened in the playoff game. I'm just being honest about it. I think they saw the playoff game. I think they saw deer in the headlights in certain moments, and I think a lot of people that were buying really high into Drew all of a sudden are retreating back.
So I think I'm so glad you said that, because probably my favorite thing that anyone said in the Daniel Jeremiah scouting report, one of his big things was, he had strong tight end room, strong running back room, strong O-line room. But when he went back and watched the separation of the wide receivers, they just had nothing around him. And I think that makes it really hard, especially if you're not in your last year of starting. I think if you're limited with playmakers around you, which he was, I want to say one of their best wide receiver playmakers was Julian Fleming, former Ohio State wide receiver. I think it makes it really hard to showcase what I think makes him so good, which is things like anticipatory throwing and arm strength.
So he's very big, obviously, and he's got a lot going for him in that respect. Matt Miller was diving into, you tell me if you think this is a fair critique or not, okay? The idea that his mental makeup maybe isn't all there, and his decision-making is, quote, very hit or miss, especially against the top opponents.
Yeah, I mean, he's second year of starting, and he came into college as a very raw player because they started him super early.
So these are some of the things, though, that I do think translates very well for having another season. And so, I think in this next year, he can clean up some of that, and he can show you a lot, and maybe it does see his draft stock rise.
I actually think I see it clear as day. I think he's going to be top. If you said, let's put money on
so many quarterbacks right now we're discussing. So go ahead. If you put money, go ahead.
If you put money on who's guaranteed to be a top 3 pick next year, Drew would be at the top of it. He's got the build. He's got the projectability, not just projectability into the NFL, into another year in college. He's not the most athletic guy, but he's kind of like Flacco in that he can move more than people give him credit for. I also think he's going to really fit the system of Stefanski still here. And I think he's kind of the quarterback that you've been waiting for. I like Klubnik. I actually think Klubnik's also underrated, and he's got a butt ton of experience in college. I think Sellers is really intriguing.
I like Sellers a lot, right? Early returns, I like him a lot.
He might be a guy, though, next year that we think needs another year in college.
He could easily be the type of guy that I look up a year from now and be like, what did I see in that guy? I could say 5 weeks into the season, I could say that same statement too. Like, he's somebody I need to see more of, but I do like.
And I don't think Arch is coming out next year.
Right.
So
what about Nussmeier?
He's just kind of a really, really good football player. Where's the elite trait? The whole point of being a top 3 pick is, all right, elite arm, elite this, elite that. And the whole intangibles thing is still one of the most projectable, meaning people project intangibles on a guy or they subtract intangibles. And I think it's really hard to tell unless you're in the moment with that player, unless you're in the room or in the huddle with that player. Some of it you can tell, but I think some of it's an absolute shoot. Some of it is hey, he just got put in the perfect situation, or hey, he got put in a bad situation. And that's my only fear with Drew. I would never wish for a top-rated quarterback. I would never wish them on Penn State. I think James Franklin is a joke of a talent developer on the offensive side. I don't think he's even. I know Kotelnick, he's supposed to be their offensive coordinator, supposed to be this wunderkind. Doesn't matter. His head coach is a dummy. By the way, I think James would be a really good NFL head coach because I think he's a CEO. I don't think he's working out I think he's doing just enough to keep his job every year. And I think he's surviving on getting a lot of upper echelon talent because it's Penn State and because there's a lot of money there.
Yeah.
I think that's my only concern about Drew this year is, and again, thinking of guys like Christian Hackenberg, who Penn State just ruined.
I loved Hackenberg. Miller's top 5, Cade, Nussmeier, Fernando Mendoza, and a name we hadn't discussed.
That would be another. He might be second to Drew Allar.
And then Sellers, and then Allar at 5th overall.
But specific to the Browns, to bring it back to the 2026 quarterback class.
Yeah.
I do think that for him to end up in Cleveland next year, and let's say the Browns have the number 1 pick, I don't think it's just good enough to be Like if this was like the 2018 draft, where it's like beauty's in the, I think Baker's the number one pick. I think Sam's the number one pick. I think Josh Allen's the number one pick. I think he'll get lost in the Cleveland conversation, not because usually being a hometown kid goes in your favor. I just think there's much more because people in Ohio have watched Drew more, whereas Mitchell Trubisky played at North Carolina, and there's not a damn person around here that wasn't you, me, or like three other people that watched ACC football. So him being far away helped him. I think the nearness playing in the Big Ten and certainly playing against Ohio State, I think hurts Drew.
That's interesting.
I think he has to be far and away the best quarterback in this class.
I mean, we always end up stumping for the local kid. That usually ends up happening.
Yeah, but I think specific to the Trubisky thing, I think it's because you knew Mitchell, but you didn't watch him play in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So I think we're almost going to be too familiar with Drew. And by the way, I think to a point that is unfair. I already think the word that I hear, like when I've talked with my friends about, and I say friends, I'm talking about anybody out in public. Hey, who's the quarterback next year? I think it's going to be Drew Allar. I think he's going to be in the mix. Oh, I hope not. He's awful.
Really?
He's this. He's that.
Was that just the playoff game? Because it did a lot for me. I'm going to be honest with you.
Like it's the Ohio State game too.
I was okay. That's fair too. But I was very open-minded towards Drew, and I watch a lot of Penn State football in general just because it's always on. But like I mean, he was, and it was fine. He was good in the Boise State game. Everyone wants that game. Well, he was good in the Boise State game. We just don't take Boise State serious at all.
What was the thing after the Boise State game? Hey, if he has two more games like this, he should declare for the first round.
I think the real problem, he didn't necessarily light up SMU or anything like that, but it was SMU into Boise State, and we just don't take those teams very serious.
No, I think that's totally fair. And
then he gets against Notre Dame, and he just didn't look good.
And here's the thing. I think we conflate, or I think we confuse, rather, what a first-round quarterback looks like. You're looking at traits. You're not looking at, man, he really balled out against LSU. That helps. But, like, I think we're almost holding the fact that Drew played early in his career against him. And I hate that. Because, like, yeah, he played as a redshirt freshman. Joe Burrow didn't play in college until he was in his, fourth year in college? And he was bad. And it took another year to make that jump.
Yeah.
Joe was a grown-ass man by the time he came to the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
Drew still kind of skews in the younger side.
No, the weird part about Drew, though, is that like his first year, I think he only had a couple interceptions the entire season. Like,
even
he was
last
very
year,
good. But he was very, very
he
good.
He had 8 INTs last year.
I know, but he was almost like Aaron Rodgers-esque when it comes to just not throwing picks at all. And I think that's where some of the guys like Matt Miller get on him for some of those interceptions that happened last year and some of the decision-making. Because you didn't see that as rookie.
Well, but what's wild about it is it was only 8 INTs, which in the Panther, like, if I don't want to say he was their offense because he benefited from a really, really great run game, but like they're not in the playoffs without Drew. If you put a inferior quarterback in that spot, I don't really in a good Big Ten last year. I don't know how many games Penn State wins. And honestly, I think what's going to help him this year is I think the Big Ten is better at quarterback than anyone realizes. Like you've got, and listen, if I said the names, most people are, but like,
I mean, there should be just by the idea that we have expanded conferences and everything else like that.
Well, I mean, like
more teams.
Mendoza going to IU.
Yeah,
that the casual fan, you guys might not know that name yet. By the end of this year, you will, and I think that will age itself really well. The kid Raiola from Nebraska. I'm just going to start mentioning
the Patrick Mahomes clone.
I'm just gonna the McClones.
Oh.
It's a little clunky, but it kind of gets you
clunky.
there.
Dylan wishes. He wishes.
He does wish.
That's his dream.
Yeah.
I like how Mahomes has started to distance himself from him, by the way, after a not very good season.
By the way, hurts your draftability. I
want
to look like, dress like, walk like, talk like Patrick Mahomes. It's a little too single white female for me.
He was just hoping that if people just squinted enough, they'd be like, oh, maybe.
I don't think you're wrong.
You got the hair. You got the number. You wear the number.
I don't think you're wrong.
You're even wearing red because Nebraska.
But what do you think about? I really do think this is going to be the time.
I'm worried about Drew. I think there's a lot there that is to like, but I'm so hesitant to be like, let's say one thing or another off someone like that that's got a whole season in front of him.
But I think what you just said there, I think more people are where you are, which is you're preset at I don't want to say negative, but where you're set at a deficit with a player, and that's why I think like. I don't think it's just good enough. I think, especially with NFL teams, I think NFL teams have the same familiarity issues that we have. The one you don't know, you don't criticize as much as the one you do know. I think
we were
going
looking for him
to
to do anything in that Notre Dame game. Like, that's going to be that. It sucks for him that it happened on that stage, but like the entire game, we were looking for him to do something, and it never happened.